What's up, guys? It's JZNES back again with another video. Today we are talking about 2022, the year in review, and we're gonna do. I beat 10 new games, not new as in new that just came out, new as in new to me games for my Gems for the Backlog series this year. So we're gonna rank all of those and get through all that. There's less games this year, kind of, because I was focused more on the Zelda, which I did beat every Zelda game this year, from the beginning of the year till now, with the exception of Breath of the Wild, which, I just didn't have time to do, and I'm going to do that before the new game comes out within this year now, 2023. So, yeah, here we are. Let's get it started with number 10, Sonic and Knuckles. Not a bad Sonic game. I don't really think I played, like, a bad game this year. There was, like, Beyond Two Souls and, like, Remember Me in the past couple of years, that were kind of not as good of games. Sure, I'm not remembering, like, a couple games. But, like, for the Gems for the Backlog series, I didn't play necessarily any bad games. I don't think so, anyway. Hold on a second. Okay, yeah. I didn't add any to the duds to the backlog or any of that. I think there's only like 2 games in there anyway. Yeah, so Sonic 3, not like a bad Sonic 3 and Knuckles, that is. Not like a bad Sonic game. A lot of people that love these classic Sonic games love this. The realization I came to in that video was just like, I don't really care that much for classic Sonic games. We'll see if Sonic CD can, like, turn it around for me. Really, for me, like, the only really good Sonic game so far has been Sonic Adventure 1. Which I know is an unpopular opinion these days. But, that's the one I really like. That's the one I grew up with. It's the only one I, like, really love, It's one of my top 10 favorite games of all time. I think it's still in the top 10. Anyway, if not, it's really fucking close. So, yeah. Like, this game, it's okay, It's just another 2D Sonic game. I think I ended up saying that I liked, oh, there, bud, don't do that. That I liked Sonic 2 more. It's really just, like, I don't really care that much for any of the 2D Sonics. They're all kind of confusing and convoluted, and there's little different problems with all of them and stuff, and it's just like, yeah. But you do get to play as, like, Tails and Knuckles and stuff, and that's pretty cool. So, yeah. Overall, though, it's an okay game. And, if that's the worst we have this year, like, okay, not bad, Like, it's fine. It's an alright game. In a decent Sonic game, I guess. Next up on the list, Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga. Now, this is a game I had as a kid, and I used to really love this game. I used to play this game, like, all the fucking time. But having played it again more recently, I've seen a lot of the glaring flaws. I don't really know if I beat it as a kid. I know I got really close to beating it as a kid, but just, it becomes such a slog of a game, like, later into the run. It's still a good game, and I still like a lot of what it's attempting to do, and a lot of the combat and that kind of thing are pretty cool, but later on, even the good things get excessive, like the combat. I would have to save state in between every turn just to make the game playable, because otherwise I would die if I didn't dodge correctly or whatever, and Paper Mario, I think, had, and Mario RPG kind of had some similar things with their timing and all of that, but this was just too much more extreme than even those games, and yeah, and just, like, the final dungeon was just ridiculous. I thought the dungeon before the final dungeon made for a good final dungeon, and then that wasn't a final dungeon, and it was like you had to do all of this shit inside of Bowser's castle there. It was just, by the end I was just so exhausted with the game, and I just wanted it to be over, but, it is a good game. It's just, not necessarily the best Mario RPG game. I think the previous two games did much better at being Mario RPGs. I think Mario RPG is flawed, but still a pretty awesome game. Flawed for its like really difficult moments at sometimes, but a lot of that game is still really good and really classic, and I still like that one a lot. Paper Mario, which we'll talk about here in a bit, did a little bit better for a lot of reasons. And I know this was kind of a streamlined, like cut down experience because it was on the GBA, but yeah, it just didn't feel as good as Paper Mario to me. And that's why I play these games in order, so I can kind of get that sense of like there was a better game prior to this. That they kind of had to strip some mechanics out of to make it for the GBA. So, decent game overall. You know, I gave it a 7.5. I gave Sonic 3 Knuckles a 7.2. So, next up is the most recent game to the series there of Pokemon, and also that I reviewed gems for the backlog wise, is Pokemon Scarlet and Violet there. I reviewed Violet. I'm only like 10 hours or something like that into Scarlet, if even. I'm probably like 5 hours into Scarlet or whatever. I've done a couple of gyms and like some other stuff, but I beaten Violet. I didn't do all the post-game content and catch all the legendaries and all that, but you know, I did beat the main game. And I mean, to keep it brief, because I literally talked my friends' ears off for like an hour last time I talked to them about this like open world system and how it's kind of flawed. And you know, of course I did my whole video about it. If you want to see it more in depth on any of these games, I did videos on all of them, so go check those reviews out. To me, the game has a lot of good things going for it. The gyms are good. The gym challenges are pretty easy, but like, you know, if they just added a little bit more to that, I think that could have been good. The problem is with the open world. Like, everyone's saying this is such a great thing, and it is nice that you can kind of do things out of order and go do harder gym leaders and stuff when you want to do them, or just kind of explore the world, and then they gave you the freedom to do that. But there's not really a lot to explore in the world. All there is to really see is Pokemon out there, and items to pick up and stuff that aren't really essential or important for any means. Contrasted to Pokemon's Legends Arceus, which we'll talk about here in a bit, you were always doing stuff in the overworld. You had the Pokemon, if you kept constantly catching them and doing stuff to them, giving them berries, catching them in unique ways, it all would add towards this Pokédex system, which would add towards your experience of like leveling up within the what you call it, the group that you were in or whatever. The Pokemon Survey Corps or whatever. I think it was something like that. Anyway, so everything went towards everything, and it was a much more well-integrated system. Now, here in this game, they want you to go and fight those Pokemon with the auto battle system so that you get the parts, or the items that they drop so you can make TMs or whatever. That's not a good enough thing. That's not a good enough loop. In Legends Arceus, when you got items and random items, and you got items from trees and stuff, those would go towards making items, a crafting system, you know, Pokeballs and all that. That was good. That was a good system. This game doesn't have anything like that to keep you going. So you're constantly fighting gyms and stuff, and then the bases are like all the same thing. The gyms are at least different enough. You know, it's still just a gym battle, but they're like different teams and whatnot. And not that the bases aren't, but like, the bases are all literally like go and throw out 3 Pokemon. As long as you have type advantage, you're going to win that part of it. And the environments in the bases are all the same. They're like this grassy open field, basically, which sucks. They should all be themed to their element or whatever. That would have been cool. That's kind of what I was expecting. I was expecting you to be able to like go inside like a Team Rocket base or something. There's nothing like that in this game. And it's sorely missing stuff like that from the old days. no puzzles or anything in the overworld, stuff like that. The world feels empty, and that's troubling, to say the least. Because there's not a lot to do, and in Arceus there was a lot to do, and that's why that's the better game. That's the main problem, and by the end of the game, you feel burnt out on these gyms and the badges and all of that, and you just want to be done with it. I don't know. That's just my opinion. I still really liked the game in a lot of regards, but the game is has some serious flaws to it as well. Its core loop is not good enough to keep me coming back. I haven't even gone and collected all the Pokemon or anything. They don't really encourage that as much, as Legends Arceus would do. So, I liked it, but one good thing about it, if I have to just throw out a quick good thing, was all the new Pokemon are really cool. I was always really in awe every time I'd find a new Pokemon. I'm like, oh, what the fuck? I've never even seen this thing. I didn't even know this was a thing. Luckily, most of them weren't leaked, which is really nice, and I got to be surprised, and I liked that a lot. So that still was a good feeling. That was maybe the one motivator to going around the world, but that quickly loses its charm. Anyway, I don't want to harp on it too much longer. This is a 7.5, I think, as well. Pokemon there. So, oh yeah, fucking Spyro! Love Spyro! Alright, next game. Big jump in quality there. Spirit Tracks. This is already an 8.5, so we went from a 7.5 to an 8.5. 1 point's different. That's a lot. I really enjoyed Spirit Tracks. I think it was good. I think the final boss was a piece of shit and deserves to die, and that was very frustrating. And there were a couple of frustrating moments in the game like that, but it was a much more well fleshed out game than Phantom Hourglass, and I think that really went in its favor. It felt a lot more like a real Zelda game, whereas Phantom Hourglass felt kind of yeah, this is a Zelda game, but it's kind of a very bare bones. Spirit Tracks had a lot of personality to it, and it had a lot of side content and stuff too. And I always loved running around the world, exploring on your train and stuff, and drawing on your map is great. Have any fucking open world game needs you to be able to draw on your map. That is what I'm saying. Wind Waker HD, you drop to the ball. That's all I'm going to say on that one. Anyway, even Pokemon did it. Not they don't let you draw on your map. You can set markers and whatnot. Anywho. Good game. I did feel sometimes, the dungeons were snappy and fast. Sometimes I got a little stuck or confused or, just it wasn't always intuitive what I was supposed to be doing, but for the most part, they fixed a lot of the problems from Phantom Hourglass, and I thought that was really good. The only Zelda game I hadn't beaten up until this point, main series Zelda game, that is, but I really enjoyed the experience. I thought it was going to actually be kind of a shitty game, but it ended up being a really decent game. Zelda as your companion, why the fuck didn't they do that up until now? It's such an obvious thing to do. She's a great companion character, too. It's great. A lot of things about Spirit Tracks are really great. I really enjoyed it. Definitely a pretty cool Zelda game. It'll be interesting to see where it stacks up once I beat Breath of the Wild and rank all the Zelda games or whatnot. But definitely had a good time with that. Glad I played that. Glad I played all the Zelda games this year. Some of them were Oracle, but I think that was the worst of the bunch there to kind of replay through. Yeah, I said that. Even with Skyward Sword on the list, so yeah, wow. Right, isn't that crazy? Okay, next. Number 6, Castlevania Rondo of Blood. I gave this one an 8.7 out of 10. Yeah, it's a really good Castlevania game, classic Castlevania games, and it's one of kind of the last good classic Castlevania games, which is cool. And it kind of it has some nice story beats to it. I remember the whole you having to kill your girlfriend that you were trying to save the whole time because now she's a vampire kind of thing. That was kind of an emotional beat there. I think the gameplay was pretty good. There's a whole second quest with the other character too, which was nice. So yeah, like, really content-filled game there. Definitely enjoyed it. Uh, is it the introduction to Richter Belmont? I don't know. It might be. I think it is, actually. Or has he been in a different Castlevania game? I mean, that's pretty significant if it is. Can't wait to play Symphony of the Night at some point. So, yeah, I don't know what to say. It was a short game, you know? It wasn't a lot of time. I beat it in, like, a morning. Granted, I didn't do the other campaign, but that one only took me a couple more hours, so... I liked it, though. It was good. Alright, number 5, Castlevania Bloodlines. I gave this one a 9 out of 10. Very good game. One of the best Castlevania games, probably since, like, the original Castlevania game. I really do like the original one. God, at the moment, is this my favorite Castlevania? It might be. It very much could be. Like, I think Castlevania 3 is just, like, way too hard for its own good. But yeah, this is, like, the ultimate, coming together, all of the parts all together, culmination, it is, of classic, Castlevania games. And I think, it definitely holds up, and it stands tall. And it's another short Castlevania game, and it wasn't too hard, but it wasn't too easy as well. It was the perfect kind of difficulty. I just think it was like a really good Castlevania game. I know that's what I said about the last one too, but like this is an even better, really good Castlevania game. Maybe my favorite Castlevania game. Definitely like one of my favorite Sega Genesis games for sure. And that really is what got me. Is like there's like a handful of good games on the Sega Genesis, but this is surely one of them. I really did enjoy it a lot. So, yeah, Castlevania Bloodlines there, really, really good for like a side game too. Like, it's not really about like any of the like Simon Belmont or like Richter Belmont or any of those. It's just like about I think it's about the characters from the novel, right? Dracula or whatever. So kind of a weird, different thing, but pretty cool game. Definitely like a really good Castlevania game. Really enjoyed playing that one. So, yeah. Next game. Paper Mario. And, yeah, for the N64 there. Oh, yeah, there we go. Golden Sun. Very RPG-esque for the Paper Mario there. Wow, yeah, like, fucking Paper Mario, dude. Like, so I had this coworker, who basically talked me into playing this one. She really wanted me to play Thousand Year Door, which I'm gonna get to at some point here. But, you know me, of course I've got to play the other Mario RPGs, beforehand, and especially the original Paper Mario. So I started with that, and then I played, Superstar Saga there, and now I can play Thousand Year Door at some point. But definitely a way better game than Superstar Saga. There were maybe a couple of flaws, but I really enjoyed the badge system. I thought that was a really good way to, and then every time you leveled up, it kind of all played into that, and that was all really nice. I just remember the system there of, like, stuff being, like, really synced up and really well done. And it kind of gave you an incentive to really explore and get some of those badges and, like, really try to find the secrets and stuff in the world, and that was cool. But yeah, I mean, graphically, I really liked that too. Aesthetically, it looks really nice, especially with emulation. You know, you can clean it up a little bit. But it still had all of the charm and the humor from the older games. And you get to play as Peach a little bit, which is always a good thing in my book for Super Mario games, because I love to play as Peach because she's like one of my favorite Super Mario characters. So, yeah. Also, the one thing that this game definitely has over Superstar Saga, in Superstar Saga you could only play as Mario and Luigi. In this game, you can play as a ton of different characters, and they all have unique abilities and stuff, and that's really helpful, and they kind of expect you to do that in order to traverse things in the overworld and do stuff in battles, and certain characters will have more usefulness to be able to like defeat certain bosses and whatnot. So definitely a really good like a Mario RPG. Definitely the prime example of a Mario RPG at this point. Maybe other than like the original, but I think even this game refined that a little bit more and made it a little bit better. So yeah, really, really good. And especially for an N64 game, this was lacking so many RPGs. This is like obviously the best one on that console, but just for the era, it was even a really good RPG. So yeah, 9.2 out of 10 there. So yeah, next game, Fatal Frame, which I don't actually own, which I gave a 9.5 out of 10. In terms of negatives for Fatal Frame, it's far less. It's more about the difficulty and the dodging system. If that had been a little bit better, this could have been pretty much a perfect horror game. The way it is now, the control is a little awkward on those specific things. And since you're in combat a lot, and there's not really a lot of healing items or good healing moments for stuff like that, it gets to be a little bit harder in that regard. With save states and stuff, it becomes a tad bit easier. But, you know, still, at the end of the day, that's a little bit of a problem. And that's like the main problem with the game, is there's just like way too many boss fights. There's like less exploration by the end of the game. It's more just about the battles and whatnot, and they just really don't give you time to recover in between and whatnot. So, but that being said, that's the main problem. The horror atmosphere of the game is really good. And pretty much everything else is great, and that stuff is what really carries the game, is how much of a good horror game it is, and exploring the mansion and stuff really feels nice. Just all of everything else is great. It's just like sometimes your systems of movement aren't optimized to what you're trying to do and what they're throwing at you. And they give you like the stun things and like the little camera upgrades and whatnot, which is nice. But you only have so many resources to invest into that. So it's like a really good game, but it's like I feel like this could be super refined in like a sequel, and it done like super well. So I'm looking forward to the games coming up for that series. But I did give it a 9.5. I still really liked it. I think it's one of the best horror games that I've played in a long time. Next game, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Excellent game. Such a good beat 'em up. I think probably the primo example of a beat 'em up. I really like it. There's an upgrade system. You level up as you go along. You play as all of the characters from Scott Pilgrim and go through the story of Scott Pilgrim with the art style of Scott Pilgrim. So what's not to fucking love? Like, the animation is so good. The music is fucking excellent. Everything about it is so good. And playing with your friends is so much fun. So if you love Scott Pilgrim like I do, this is just a really, really great game. And it controls well, and you have a bunch of different characters that have different play styles and whatnot, which was nice. It's just really good overall. Lots of good references and stuff to the Scott Pilgrim media. What is this? Oh, this is Spyro. Yeah, I mean, I just really love it. Scott Pilgrim. How the fuck would I not love it, right? Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. And you know, the whole thing about the game being lost for so many years. I'm so glad we have it back. It's such a good game. It's a shame that it was lost for so long. But now we can finally play it again, which is great. And for the #1 game of the year. Game of the year! Pokemon Legends Arceus. A game I gave a 10 out of 10 to on the original review there. And I still mostly stand by that. It would at least be a high 9 to a 10. The reason I still think a 10 holds water is because to this point, it is one of the most premium examples of what an open world Pokemon game could be. What a really good Pokemon game could be if you took the empty world of Scarlet and Violet and added all these missions and all of this extra Pokédex stuff to really mesh them together. That would be like the perfect Pokemon game. But they didn't do that. They created an empty world in Scarlet and Violet. And everything that was bad about Scarlet and Violet was good in this game, for the most part. Being able to sneak up on Pokemon and just dynamically catch them was awesome. Being able to throw berries and then distract them and then dynamically catch them was awesome. Like I said, all of the Pokédex little extra things. You always have a reason to go and catch Pokemon. You're never bored in the world because you see that Pokemon and you're like, oh, I need to go and work on the dex entry for that Pokemon, you know? Or whatnot. And it would always add towards your total, and you know, all of that would make it easier to catch shinies for those Pokemon. And they ain't shit like that in Scarlet and Violet, which is disappointing in comparison. And I know they were being developed at the same time, so they couldn't necessarily do that, but it just becomes a problem because this game was just so much better, and there was a lot of really good elements. You know, like, the story is, like, okay. The story in Scarlet and Violet is just okay as well. I don't know. That kind of stuff is fine, but, like, the music, I know everyone harps on, graphics are terrible, they look... No, they're not that bad. I like them. I think they look good, honestly. For sure. So, this game also has customizable, you know, like your outfit and whatnot, which Scarlet and Violet doesn't fucking have, which is stupid as shit. So, you know, point to Legends Arceus there. I just think it's an overall, like, a better and more fun game to play, because a lot of the side content and the missions and stuff, which Scarlet and Violet was, like, very bare on. So I think it's the game that's going to stand the better test of time in the Pokemon legacy. And it's one of the better... I would say it's one of the best Pokemon games I've played. And it definitely elevates Gen 8 for me. That's why I'm like, so, like, fucking angry when everyone puts Gen 8, like, as the lowest generation on, like, most of these, like, ranking all the generations lists. Did y'all play Gen 7, by the way? It sucked, okay? I'm just gonna say that. You know, like, Gen 8 was pretty good. And Sword and Shield really came around on the DLC. And even before that, it was still a pretty good Pokemon game, I would say. So, yeah, overall, I mean, like, this really pulls that generation up, is what I'm trying to say. It's great. Pokemon Legends Arceus is a really good template for what a Pokemon game needs, and should have going forward in order to be fun. And a lot of people saw that and really enjoyed the game. Johnny Millennium himself said, I loved the game, but the graphics sucked, so I didn't play it. I don't agree with that sentiment at all. I think that's so stupid that happened. I love Johnny Millennium, by the way, but I'm just saying, that's kind of a shitty reason to give up on a game, is because of the graphics or whatever. I think that's dumb. But the game itself is really quite a solid game, and I really love it. And I love all of the Hisuian forms. I thought that was a cool idea. And like exclusively, you know, Pokemon that can only evolve in the past of Hisui. I guess we kind of got that again with Paradox forms or whatnot. But, you know, even that was like reserved until the end of Scarlet and Violet. So like, this game, you could see that midway through the game and stuff, and that was cool. So, yeah, I don't know. There's just a lot to really love about Pokemon Legends Arceus, comparatively to Scarlet and Violet, and compared to a lot of the other Pokemon games. I just think it's a breath of fresh air to the series, and I really am excited to see more like that in the future, rather than laziness like Scarlet and Violet. So yeah, that's my year top 10 games of 2022 in review. Hopefully in the next year, 2023 here is going to be great, and it will beat a lot of more games. Time will tell, you know. I'll be done with Zelda here soon, so at that point it should give me the opportunity to start beating a lot more games. And I've got Life is Strange 2 on the docket there, and True Colors. So there's at least 2 games I'll beat within the next year. And probably Tears of the Kingdom, whenever that comes out. So yeah, lots to look forward to, you know. But until next time, this has been JZNES saying keep it classic. Stick around for more reviews, underrated games. I'll see you guys in the next one. JZ, out.